Last time we say that our protagonist was confused and wondering what happened. And on the other side, Lin Chien finished making her anti-invisibility setup and turned it on. Master Li and the assassin were both freaked out after seeing a person appearing out of nowhere. Now our protagonist can see the sexy thief. She was half android, and Hong Dali was surprised by it and asks who made her like this with such advanced technology because he wants to buy that technology. The sexy thief's identity is exposed, so now she needs to kill our protagonist. So she starts approaching our protagonist, but our protagonist asked the guard to stop her because he spent so much money on them. She decided to kill the guard who was the assassin and started attacking him. Scared protagonist picks up the other guard, who was Master Li, and pushed him to the sexy robot girl to stop her, and they all started fighting. And our protagonist was cheering them while they were fighting. In the fight, the sexy robot girl picks up the assassin by the neck, but he uses his secret knife and tried to cut her hand, but she's a half robot. And our protagonist was making fun of her. On the other side, Master Li became angry and used a thunder palm with 100% strength, striking the sexy robot girl. As a result, her hand, which had already been damaged by the assassin, broke apart. She was already furious, and this made her more angry. She uses the hidden missile in her hand and quickly blasts the area. After the smokes calm down, our protagonist notices that they all are gone, but the sexy robot girl forgot to take her broken mechanical arm. His wifey and Lin Chien arrive and were worried about him, but he calmed them down and gives Lin Chien the mechanical arm that was left behind by the sexy robot invisible girl thief. He asked if she can make something like this. He also tells them about two guards that were very powerful and fought against the half-metal female, and he was planning to reward those two. But Lin Chien that someone discovered that a bodyguard was knocked out and had his cloth stolen. Our protagonist was surprised and confused at the same time. He was wondering who sent them here and for what purpose. Other side, Master Li isn't dead and came out alive from that blast. On his way, he met the director Ding Chengjia, and the director asks if he killed Hong Dali or not. He starts yelling at him after learning that Master Li couldn't do his work. This angers our old master and he slaps the director. The scene changes, and we see Hong Anbao's man killed the assassin because he failed the mission. On the other side, our protagonist's wife heals his wound with a spray. Our protagonist is surprised because his wound quickly heals with the spray, and he asks about it. His wife explains that it's made from the divine herb and can quickly heal any wound. He is very lucky to be the first one to try it out. She also tells him that the Tang family has overcome the crisis safely, and his dad has decided to let Hang Dali have a share of the company to thank him for his efforts, making him one of the shareholders. Our protagonist asks his wifey to fulfill her promise, but she forgets what it was. He reminds her that she promised to quickly marry him and cook for him every day after overcoming the crisis safely. Embarrassed, she pushes him and left quickly. Lin Chien arrives and tells him that she found a sword at the scene. She thinks that it probably belongs to someone who snuck in. Our protagonist quickly realizes that this sword is the magical weapon known as slashing metal, which his cousin got from the auction. He now knows that his cousin, who hates him to the core, is behind the attack. Determined to stand up for himself, he decides to fight back and show his cousin some respect. He makes a phone call to his secretary and asks her to prepare some people with a car. At his cousin's house, while he was sleeping, some people started revving their bikes and shouting thank you for the great jeweled sword, young Master Anbao. Angry Hong Anbao woke up and went to his window to see who was shouting and notices that it's Hong Dali with some people, and this made him more angry. Hong Anbao steps outside of his house, and our protagonist asks if his cousin giving him the 100 million swords. However, Hong Anbao requests to give it back. To divert suspicion, our protagonist pretends that he received the sword that day and implies that someone may be trying to harm him. He decides to call the police to investigate. Hong Anbao realizes that if the police investigate, he will be in trouble, especially since the clan meeting is approaching. Thus, he tells our protagonist that he gave the sword to someone else a few days ago and prevents him from calling the police. As a token of goodwill, our protagonist gifts him a pig head, which symbolizes prosperity and wealth. These cousins get angry but calm himself down. His cousin tells him that we will destroy Hong Dali's family after the clan meeting. Hong Dali only knows the clan meeting that offers 1 billion sponsorship, but this year's meeting is different. In this meeting, the clan leader, who is also their grandpa, is going to step down at this meeting. It's crucial as to who will be the next clan leader among the 5 sons. The oldest son has already passed away, the second son found his footing overseas, and the third son is mediocre. So the position of clan leader will go to either his father or Hong Dali's father. Hong Dali wasn't taking clan leader's position seriously, so his cousin explains that the person who will become the clan leader can freely alter the structure of the family assets and can decide how to develop the family businesses, and he believes that his father's victory is predetermined. After becoming leaders, they plan to destroy Hong Dali's family and seize their assets for the clan. They will force Hong Dali's entire family to live on the streets. He also advises Hong Dali to keep the sword and exchange it for money in the future and left. Hong Dali also decided to leave, but the good thing is while he was talking to his cousin, he scanned his cousin, and now he can turn into him anytime for research purposes, I think. The next day, our protagonist discusses this matter with his father, and his father tells him that it's not confirmed that Hong Anbao's father will be the clan leader because it's an open vote choice. As his cousin said, his oldest uncle is already passed away, his second uncle is in overseas, and his third uncle is not good at doing business. So logically, the next clan leader will be between his father and his cousin's father. Both of them are confident that they can handle the affairs well. But in some matters, his cousin's father's winning chances are 100% because they need to also think about the next line means. If Hong Dali's father became the clan leader, he needs to give the position of the next clan leader to his son. And because our protagonist used to be sickly and weak, there was a time when his life was at risk, so no one saw any promise in him. They naturally paid attention to the healthy Hong Anbao. Our protagonist's dad was worried, and other side our protagonist decided to play with them a little. 10 days later, on the day of the clan meeting, Yuxi arrives. Everyone gathered around her and everyone starts praising her, but she didn't even know these relatives because she haven't seen them for a few years. And the fourth son arrives, who is Han Anbao's father. Everyone went to meet them, leaving Yuxi alone. The fifth son also arrives, who is the father of our protagonist. Yuxi went to meet them and ask about our protagonist. Our protagonist replies with a wobbly voice, "I am here," coughing, with his wife, and he is very sick that he can't even talk properly. His wifey asks him why he is pretending to be sick in a whisper, but he tells her not to do anything and just pretend. Everyone greets them. Suddenly Hong Anbao arrived and asks everyone to stay away and stop bothering Hong Dali, who he is sick. He also asks Yuxi to join in, but she declines, saying she will stay with Muxin because they are the same age, and she will be fine with her. Hong Anbao starts threatening Yuxi with the power that he doesn't even have, so our protagonist's wifey flies him away with her anger. Yuxi worried about our protagonist. Another side, our actor protagonist received the secretary's call. She informs him that the script of all media has been written and asked him if he want to publish it right now or not. Our protagonist tells her not to publish right now and let him linger for a while. I think it's something about Hong Anbao. Sometime later, an old man arrives from a helicopter. Our protagonist didn't know him, and Yuxi was surprised by that because he is the one who created this huge family business, and he is also our protagonist's grandpa. How would he remember that it was his grandpa because it's his first time meeting him? Everyone greets him and the meeting begins. His grandpa sits in his place and asks to send greetings. The first one is the son of the first son who passed away. He gives his great-grandson a red envelope. And the next was the second oldest son, who is a resident abroad. The next was the third son, whose family is fully talented and scholars but not good at doing business. The next was the fourth son, means Hong Anbao's family. As soon as they arrive, Anbao started kowtowing his grandpa to flattery him, but our protagonist started coughing loudly to get his grandpa's attention. His grandpa asks, "Who's that?" Then, our protagonist emerges while pretending to be sick and falls on his way. Seeing him like this, his grandfather's toward him to give him a hand. Our protagonist tells him that he missed him so much and every day he wanted to see his grandpa again, so he kept breathing such sweet words. After some time, he stands up and introduces him to his fiancée, whom he chose for him a long time ago. His father got happy and also gave him the red envelope. Look, I wonder what is in the envelope. Today's meeting will also give a good opportunity for the junior who has a business mind but needs a little financial support and promotion. The grandpa tells them that his assistant will announce the performance of the people participating in the selection one by one. The section is to help a rookie who encounters temporary difficulties and steps back, but there are hopes of making progress. The meeting will open in the afternoon, so now they decided to go to the hall for dinner. At the dinner hall, all people were enjoying their meal, and our protagonist asks his wifey to eat a lot. I think he wants his wifey to be a thick one. On the other side, Hong Anbao was looking for an opportunity to make our protagonist look ugly in public. Suddenly, he saw a waitress coming with a hot bowl of soup and he tripped her, thinking it was a good opportunity. The waitress fell and the bowl was about to hit our protagonist, but he dodged it, causing the bowl to land on his uncle's head. His uncle started screaming in pain after pulling the bowl from his head and began yelling at the waitress. Hong Anbao thought that nobody saw him trip her, but a child witnessed it and told everyone that he was the one who did it. As soon as the child spoke up, the uncle tried to throw a plate of noodles at Hong Anbao's face. However, he dodged, and as a result, the noodles hit the woman sitting beside him. They both started fighting, and sometime later everyone started fighting by throwing the food. The old man tries to calm them down, but someone throws a whole crab at his face. This angered him, and as soon as he got angry, everything starts moving like an earthquake. Our protagonist noticed something weird flash. The old man asked everyone to gather in the meeting lobby. In the meeting lobby, they all gathered up and discussed the fighting that just happened. Everyone found out that it's all Hong Anbao's fault. He targeted our protagonist, so everyone asked to apologize to him. After he apologized to him, a girl named Xiao Shuang arrived, who is the personal secretary of the old man. Dang, this old man's personal secretary. The meeting started. The first man was this guy, but I'm not gonna explain his projects because who cares about him. The next participant is Emily Yuxi. She was ranked first in the last meeting and is currently 24 years old. Her current projects include a 5-star hotel, a top private club, and a shopping center. Her annual net worth is 75 million, and her annual net profit rate has increased by 5 percentage points over the past 3 years. Everyone cheers for her, and she thanks everyone. And the next participant is Hong Anbao. He was ranked 13th place in the last meeting and is currently 26 years old. His current project includes a duty hospital, one webcast company, one takeaway company, with a net profit income of 380 million. During this, everyone was shocked, but our protagonist quietly laughed at him. This made him angry, and he asked the old man's secretary to read our protagonist's financial report first, and she reads. Hong Dali is 22 years old, ranked last. In the last meeting, there were no profits after a dozen of investments and a net loss of 30 million on the title of prodigal son. Everyone started laughing at our protagonist and making fun of him. And she started reading his current projects: a 3-star hotel in the city center, 10 restaurants of barbecues, earning 2 million in the first quarter. Also a film and television company which has a popular female group, Chasing Electricity, a blockbuster movie, earning 900 million revenue in the first quarter. As she was reading, everyone got more and more surprised. She also tells them that in the back, our protagonist and a famous international amusement park company, Tesney, cooperated to build a 5-star amusement park in China. He occupies 10% of the shares, and only half a year he paid dividends of 3 billion. Hong Anbao accused that it was his dad who helped him to invest. But our protagonist tells him that he brought the land for 10 million and used it to build a house for stray dogs. Everyone was surprised as hell. The old man asked if there was something more. But there was something more, and she again reads that there is also an investment using a divine herb to invest in Tang Ren Hall Pharmaceutical Company, which is used to make healing magic medicine. According to the data given by Tang Ren Hall, our protagonist has a share of 30 billion. Everyone was surprised because the prodigal turned out to be the most profitable one. Everybody knows that our protagonist is in the first place. His grandfather asked if he wants the money or not, because it's an opportunity for those who need it, and our protagonist has already made a lot of money. But our protagonist tells his grandpa that he had no opinion on what grandpa decides. So it's decided that Hong Anbao is the #1 rookie of this year and won prize money of 1 billion. Last time we saw that Hong Anbao was the #1 rookie of the year and won the prize money of 1 billion. And the old man decided to start the next meeting where they're gonna choose the successor. The grandpa starts talking that he started from a workshop and now he is able to achieve big achievements. Today he did his best, but now he's tired and it's time for him to retire and live the rest of his life in peace. He gives the signal to his huge booba secretary. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I wanted to say big booba secretary because she's nothing compared to this one. The secretary tells everyone that there will be 3 rounds of voting. In the first round, the 3 people with the most reverse will be selected. And in the second round, the 3 people that were selected in third round will give the speech to canvas for votes. The third round of reinvestment is the final result, and the person with the most votes will be the new head of the family. Suddenly something rise up in front of every family member's table, and it was a tablet where the avatar and names of all candidates in the whole family have been recorded. The old man explains that if they want to vote for someone, they can just click on the avatar and cast a vote. If the time extends to 10 minutes, it will be counted as an abstention. They also have done the anonymous mode where they can click on it and give their vote to a random candidate. And the voting begins. Our fairy was confused about whether she should vote or not because she is not from our protagonist's clan. However, he told her that she will eventually become a part of the clan sooner or later. So, she decided to vote for our protagonist. Everyone wasn't voting, and the old man was surprised by that. But suddenly, we saw a flashback of the second oldest son, where Hong Anbao's father gives a lot of money to the second son, indicating that he purchased the second son's vote. Later, everyone decided to vote, and we saw another flashback where the third son's vote was also purchased by Hong Anbao's father. After the first round of voting ends, so the result where Hong Anbao's father got 52 votes, Hong Dali's father got 31 votes, and Hong Dali got 1 vote from his wifey. Hong Anbao and his dad's plan was going well. Hong Anbao stands up and started making fun of our protagonist because he got a vote from someone and a handicapped is not worthy of any vote. Our protagonist's wife tells his cousin that at least Hong Dali got a vote even if he is handicapped, and his cousin can't even get that one. Hearing that, everyone started laughing at him and he sits down. After some time, the protagonist asks his wife if she voted for him, but she tells him she didn't. She voted for his father instead. Do you guys know who voted for our protagonist? I think it's Yuxi because based on her behavior in front of our protagonist, it looks like she has a crush on him. And the first round ended. The second round started, which was the canvassing. And Hong Amba's father, I decided to give a speech first, and he gave a nice big speech. I am not going to tell you the speech, but after the speech, he also says that he recommends everyone to vote for the fifth brother, who was our protagonist's father, because he believes that he is too old for it. After the speech, he sat down. His son was confused that why his dad was ruining the plan, but his father shut him up because it was all of his plans. As he sat down, everyone again voted for him, and the number of votes went far ahead. The old man, the fifth son, if he has something to say. Our protagonist's father stands up and tells everyone that he is nothing but incompetent in front of his fourth brother, so he just wanted to say 2 things. The first one is he is giving up the competition. After listening to that, everyone was freaked out. The old man asked for the second thing, and the second thing was he wanted to ask everyone to allow him to count his votes transferred to his son. Everyone got more surprised by that, and according to Hong Dali's father, half a year ago, he was barely clinging to life in a hospital bed. He wasn't capable of doing things on his own. But then, a miracle happened, and our protagonist not only woke up but also transformed from being a prodigal to a changed person. In just 6 months, he has accomplished more than most people in the room combined in terms of energy and productivity. He believes that it was the God who arranged for him to be born again. Hong Anbao wasn't agreed with Dali's father, and Anbao's father think of it as an insult to him, so he also decided to give his votes to Anbao. Both fathers are confident in themselves. The second round was replaced, so now they have to give the speech. Let me explain this quickly, guys. They talk too much. Anbao decided to give the speech, and he believed that they shouldn't choose a handicapped patriarch. Everyone agreed with him and decided to give him all the votes, and Anbao's votes are 80, other side Hong Dali's are 4. The scene changes, and we see Yuxi is now scared of Anbao. She silently asks our protagonist to give her strength because she had voted for him. See guys, I've told you. The old man asked our protagonist if he want to say something, but he declines that he didn't want to say anything. Suddenly, we see the old man's secretary whispers something to him. She tells him about some kind of news, and the old man asked her to play it on the big screen. And when she turned on the big screen, we see the news that our protagonist's secretary published, where Hong Anbao was hitting and abusing an old man and calling himself a bastard. There was also a video where Anbao molested our wifey. By the way, the Anbao in the video is not the real Anbao. He's our protagonist who molested his own wifey. Oh man, look at her acting. On the other side, Anbao's father was hell angry at him and leaves him. What the hell is he going Super Saiyan? Later, Anbao tells everyone that it's Dali's doing, calling him vicious. So, our protagonist reveals to everyone that he sent a killer to assassinate our protagonist. Everyone was again freaked out. Everyone has nothing to do, so they are just freaking out. The old man asks Anbao if Dali's saying is true or not. Hong Anbao confesses that he is the one who sent an assassin to cut off his leg and tries to hit our protagonist with the chair. But our protagonist uses his sword and cuts the chair in half. He also cut off his shirt to show the tattoo symbol of the evil axis of the Second World War. Our protagonist found out about his tattoo after turning into his appearance. After finding out his tattoo, the old man decided to take him down and investigate him. His grandpa asked about his body, so he tells him that his body is in a good condition for a long time. It's just that he was in a danger some time ago, so he pretended to be sick to confuse the killers. After finding out his body is in a good condition for a long time, everyone decided to vote for him, and someone is very happy. And our protagonist became the head of the Hong family with a total vote of 84. Everyone congratulates him, and the scene changed. We see our protagonist and his grandpa talking in private, and our protagonist tells him that he can't be the head of this kind of family. His grandpa tells him that he had expected that our protagonist will say something like that. However, Grandpa has a highly professional team to take care of the family chores, allowing him to focus solely on being the shopkeeper. Our protagonist replies that listening to his words, it seems like he is going to do something big. He is just an ordinary man who spends money, makes money, and indulges in superficial pleasures. What can he achieve in his life? But Grandpa tells him that he is destined to do something significant due to having a unique system in his body that sets him apart from ordinary people. And he is destined to not be able to live this ordinary life. Hong Dolly was alarmed when he found out that his grandpa knew about the system in his body, and he asked how and why his grandpa knew. His grandpa tells him that he is the one who asked someone to add that system, and he also tells him one more thing, that the real Hong Dolly is dead. His grandpa starts explaining to him, and we see a flashback. In the flashback, we see our protagonist was very sick and the doctor said that he won't last for 3 days. It's because someone poisoned him when he was a kid. His grandpa was worried for him, so he decided to call an organization that can find a way to keep our protagonist alive. In the next scene, we see that they placed our protagonist in a capsule. The man who was working there tells Grandpa that they have collected the data of Dolly's body. Unfortunately, they can only collect the data of his sick body and do not get the data of his healthy body, and most of his memory data had also been damaged and lost. Let me explain in simple language. Our protagonist was dying after 3 days, so they decided to copy his data and use a strong team to create a replica world that is exactly like the real world. All creatures, buildings, and even emotions inside were copied from the real world one by one. That means our protagonist is already passed away, and the one who was doing all these things is just a data. And 2 days later, our protagonist died and at the same time launched the satellite into space to scan Earth. After scanning the whole Earth, our protagonist woke up in his data where our story started. That's how our protagonist survived in this replica world, and the program installed the system for him. He finally survived and became stronger day by day. And because he survived in this world, the history of this world has changed and his destiny keeps moving. But in the real world, none of this happened because he is already dead. Our protagonist can't digest everything yet and starts crying. Sometime later, he leaves the room, and outside he still can't believe that he already passed away in the real world and he is only a bunch of data. While he was thinking that, his wifey arrives and tells her stupid husband that everyone is waiting for him to start the banquet. And as soon as she arrives, our protagonist hugs her very tightly and tells her that her body is very soft and warm like a cushion. She replies that it's obvious because he is not a dead person. Listening to this, our protagonist became happy because even though he's dead in the real world, he is alive in this replica world. He decided to live in this replica world because his emotion, passions, and everything are real. Sometimes you just have to accept things how they are because you can't do something about it. And in the next scene, we see our protagonist who is getting mad because they cannot even install a good system to upgrade, because according to this system, the higher his level, the more money he has to spend the money, and now it's getting harder and harder to upgrade. He has to upgrade his strength because the satellite copied the whole world, therefore not only his relatives but also his enemies are copied, and if the enemy finds out that he is not dead, they'll again try to kill him. The old man investigated many people, but he hasn't found anyone who poisoned him, and there are many other enemies that he can't even remember clearly. After some time, we see our protagonist who gets ready for his meeting. While leaving, he hugs his parents. Sometime later, we see he arrived at the meeting place and everyone calls him patriarch, so he asks everyone to call him young master instead of the patriarch. The meeting is started and our protagonist's secretary arrives and introduces herself. She tells everyone that she'll be taking over this job from the previous big boob's secretary, and Yuxi is not happy about it. I think she wanted to become his secretary. Our protagonist asks his secretary to give some information because he just took over the office. The secretary read the reports and gave information about the industries, villas, yachts, etc. that the Hong family owns. The head of the family can freely do everything, so he tells everyone that they can enjoy whatever they want but just need to tell his secretary. After that, he gives them a nice little speech. They praise him and the meeting ends.
Last time, we saw that our protagonist gives a nice little speech, and they are praised. The meeting ends and everyone leaves except for Anbao's father, who wants to talk to our protagonist about something. Our protagonist asks what it is that he wants to talk about. Anbao's father wants to discuss Anbao, as Anbao is now in charge of his business and other matters. He takes our protagonist to the room where he was imprisoned by the old man and has been waiting for him. Our protagonist enters the room and sits in front of Anbao. Anbao asks if our protagonist came here to insult him, but he is shocked after looking at our protagonist's face. Our protagonist reveals that he is actually the real Anbao, disguised as Anbao himself. He goes on to tell his cousin that he has committed various criminal acts, such as robbing 10 banks, blowing up 20 cars, and taking 50 hostages tonight. The real Anbao accuses our protagonist of being cruel and trying to shift all the blame onto him. But the one who is truly heartless is the real Anbao, as he was the one who sent an assassin after our protagonist. Anbao tries to make excuses, but our protagonist has had enough and tries to hit him. Anbao starts begging, expressing deep remorse and promising to do anything for our protagonist. Our protagonist eventually forgives him and asks about the assassin organization that Anbao hired to kill him. Anbao starts explaining that it's not a professional assassin organization, but rather a private team organized by individuals with unique skills called special groups. They usually exchange experiences and skills, and they are like a group of ghosts. Guys, if you want to join our Discord server, link is in the comments section. Later, our protagonist decides to go there and asks Anbao to take him to the organization's base. As soon as our protagonist arrives at the organization's base, a man named Multi-Tongue approaches him, running. Multi-Tongue has more than one tongue and can speak to multiple people at the same time without misspeaking. He is responsible for online communication with employers and assigning the right person for the job. He asks our protagonist about the previous attempt on his life when Anbao hired an assassin, as the assassin was appointed by him. Anbao gets angry and starts beating Multi-Tongue, demanding his money back. Meanwhile, our protagonist enters the base and sees some individuals who do not look like normal humans. There was a girl who was half human and half snake, and she sees our protagonist as soft and tasty, deciding to swallow him. But our protagonist quickly uses his sword to make a cut on her face, defending himself. As the girl screams in pain from the cut on her face, the other man standing beside her tries to retaliate against our protagonist. But Multi-Tongue arrives and stops him. Multi-Tongue introduces our protagonist as their new boss, but Fang Guozi from one of them disagrees with him. Our protagonist asserts his authority, telling everyone that he is the one in charge now. He acknowledges their special skills, but also reveals that he is wealthy and has a significant amount of money. However, everyone is skeptical and mocks him. Fang Guozi approaches our protagonist aggressively, but our protagonist orders the truck door to be opened. As the door opens, money spills out like water, surprising everyone. However, Fang Guozi sees an opportunity to kill our protagonist in order to take all the money for himself, as he believes that our protagonist's death would grant him free access to the wealth. He launches an attack on our protagonist. However, our protagonist manages to fend off Fang Guozi's attacks with his stick. To his surprise, his friends, who were initially on Fang Guozi's side, betray him after being enticed by the excessive amount of money that our protagonist offered them, and they turn on Fang Guozi, beating him up. In the chaos, Fang Guozi starts releasing some kind of gas and starts beating his friends. Then he approaches our protagonist, and as Fang Guozi launches his attack, our protagonist activates his bracelet, which puts him into invisible mode. The bracelet was a gift from Lin Qian, who had copied the program of the Invisible Women's Hand and installed it into the bracelet, along with an upgraded projection system. Previously, the system could only scan real people, but now it can also scan non-character images, such as monsters from movies. While in invisible mode, our protagonist decides to use the projection system and starts projecting a massive monster. As the smoke from the scuffle settles, the three-eyed monster appears, shocking everyone present. The monster's unexpected appearance catches them off guard, creating a moment of confusion and fear among the group. After Fang Guozi saw our protagonist's projected monster, he peed in his pants and ran away. I mean, where were his pants? Later, the other members of the special organization apologized to our protagonist because they couldn't see him, but our protagonist told them that they are already passed and could now share the money. They were very happy because they had never seen that much money before. Our protagonist asked everyone to introduce themselves, but they were busy swimming in money. Our protagonist became angry and told them that they should show respect, obey him, and follow all of his orders. He then asked the first man to introduce himself, whose name is King Kong. He used to practice hard, but now his hands are tough as metal. The second person is Yoling. He doesn't have any special skills, but he can hear footsteps from 100 meters away of ants and shoot accurately. This little bird is Asuka, who used to be a circus performer and traveled everywhere with a variety of acts. Who knows when the next time he wakes up, wings will grow on his body. All of this happened half a year ago when their data was scanned and changed, making them supernatural due to the many bugs in the virtual world where our protagonist lives. The cutie snake's name is Sasha, and she used to be a snake dancer, but suddenly half a year ago, she transformed into a real snake girl. Our protagonist heals the scar on her face that he gave her moments ago and also gives her some divine medicine to use in the future. After a sudden earthquake that lasted a few minutes and then calmed down, Anabo shows the protagonist a news report. During a live broadcast earlier, a huge wave suddenly surged on Ziju Lake, which is an island lake, causing many cruise ships on the lake to capsize. Rescue efforts are being arranged at the scene. The protagonist decides to send his special team for investigation and on-the-spot rescue. His special team quickly arrives at the scene and saves everyone. The grateful survivors thank them and ask who they are. The special team informs them that they were sent by young Master Dolly to help people in need. They start praising our protagonist, but suddenly another earthquake arrives. Yoling informs everyone that he can hear something underwater, like a giant struggling and roaring. Sasha can dive below 1,000 meters and hold her breath for half an hour, so she wants to explore it. However, Yoling stops her and suggests that they should inform the young master before making a decision. After 20 minutes, our protagonist arrives and waits for Lin Chyan. Moments later, Lin Chyan arrives with his fiancée. Our protagonist introduces his fiancée to his special team. Sasha is very disappointed to find out that our protagonist already has a fiancée. Lin Chyan gives our protagonist the underwater goggles that he requested, which can withstand water pressure at a depth of 5 kilometers and have a stereoscopic function to transmit underwater images in real time via other projection devices. Our protagonist hands over the goggles to Sasha because he wants to know what's under the water. Sasha dives into the water, she heads deeper while informing everything to them. Another earthquake occurs for a minute. Later, our protagonist asks Sasha how can she talk under the water because she is a snake, not a fish. And she replies that her tongue is 1,000 times more flexible than a human's, so she can make sounds with just the vibration of her tongue. I wonder what 1,000 times more flexible tongue feels like. Look at their face, they also wanted to know. Sometime later, Sasha arrives at the destination but couldn't see anything. Lin Chyan tells her that the glasses have an automatic bioscanning function and will issue warning sounds when approaching creatures, and she should just follow the instructions. Sasha arrives at a mountain where the warning sound is the highest and starts scanning the mountain. Lin Chyan activates the projector and it was not just a mountain, but rather a giant tortoise that was surprised by a giant mountain. The tortoise starts struggling, causing water and land to vibrations, and if it continues, the tortoise will crack the ground. So, they need to think of a way to calm the tortoise down first. Our protagonist asks if the giant can understand their language or not. Sasha quickly goes in front of the giant to check if he can understand their language, and she starts introducing herself to him and asking if he can understand her language. The giant quickly pulls in his tortoise head and emerges with another head, which is a snake head. And he also starts introducing himself. His name is Xuanwu, an ancient beast who promised God that he would stay there for 100,000 years. Now that the agreed time is over, it's time for him to go out. However, after tens of thousands of years of staying there, he is being covered in boulders and can't get out. Our protagonist promised to help the ancient beast, but he has to wait for a few more days. He agrees because he has been waiting for 100,000 years. So waiting for a few more days isn't so bad. Our protagonist asks Sasha to come back, and King Kong asks how our protagonist plans to help him. Our protagonist replies with an atomic bomb, but an atomic bomb is very powerful and will blow the city in half. So, he asks Lin Chyan if she can create a less powerful one. She replies that she knows a place where she can do it, her house. She takes everyone to the Gao family's company, but she was marginalized by the Gaos, so she uses her mother's last name. After entering the building, a man who was working there started making fun of her because she was marginalized by the Gao family. Our protagonist gets angry, and King Kong grabs the man by his face and tells him that he has to provide VIP service to our protagonists. But now, he doesn't want to hear his voice anymore, so he has to lead him quietly to his boss. After entering the other office, they encounter two kids, Lin Chyan's step-siblings. Suddenly, a man emerges who is Lin Chyan's father. He quickly recognizes our protagonist because he is very famous for the past 6 months, and he assumes that our protagonist is here for a marriage proposal for his daughter. He tells our protagonist that if he wants to marry her, it will be very expensive. Our protagonist replies that an amazing girl like Lin Chyan can't just marry anyone other than him, but today they came here to discuss business with him. He takes our protagonist to his office. Once inside the office, our protagonist dives straight into business and asks him if he can help him destroy mountains underwater. He tells him that if he can do it, our protagonist can pay any price. He shows our protagonist his mighty cannon that he made a long time ago and tells him that he can lend it to him for free. But the problem is that there is no suitable energy to power it. The half-robotic old man explains the specifications of the cannon to our protagonist and also mentions that he has read many books, which suggests that there is only one type of spar that is produced by the huge explosion of stars wandering in the universe, and it possesses the required energy. In simple terms, the spar that the old man needs is the sapphire heart that our protagonist's father auctioned off for Muxin. Our protagonist tells the old man that he needs to show him something, But first, he needs to call his fiancée who is waiting for him in the car. After his wife arrives, he introduces her to the old man. At first, the half-robotic old man thought that our protagonist is just playing. But after noticing her pendant, he is held in surprise and drops his cigar that he was smoking. He picks up the cigar again and tells them that he just needs a microgram of the spar. He explains that with just a microgram of it, the power is enough to power an aircraft carrier for 10,000 years. He tells our protagonist that he wants a gram of the pendant and he will agree to any terms and conditions. Our protagonist expresses that he wants the old man and the other children to apologize to Lin Chyan, respect her, and love her in the future. The old man questions whether our protagonist cares about his daughter too much, stating that she is just a trass who can't even create inventions. Our protagonist shows her disguise-changing inventions to the old man, and he is again surprised. Our protagonist also offers to go in place of the old man, but the old man decides to go by himself because he knows that he was the one who was wrong. On the other side, Lin Chyan's siblings were making fun of her, so she hits them. Suddenly, the old man arrives and his kids ask him to scold Lin Chyan because she hit them. But the old man kneels down and apologizes to Lin Chyan, telling her that he was the one who was obsessed with his job and forgot to treat all the children equally. He realizes that he only graded them by comparing them, but ignored the importance of mutual help and sibling friendship. He asks Lin Chyan to forgive him. Dang, lolis are getting cuter and cuter. Lin Chyan knows that our protagonist is the one who helped her father realize this, so she silently hugs her father. The old, half-robotic man tells her that the other siblings will also apologize to her, otherwise they will be grounded for a month. However, the siblings do not agree with him, and instead, they'll jump off a building rather than apologize to her. So, our protagonist uses his bracelet and transforms into a monster that looked just like their father. Everyone is surprised, and the old man realizes that Lin Chyan deliberately made his father look like the devil.
This is for today. Have a nice day.